Hello everyone and welcome back to Mr. Location. I already know this video is probably going to be controversial, so let's just get straight into it. 7 years after Pizzeria Simulator came out, we're still trying to figure out Midnight Motorist. There's still a lot of questions: Junior's the runaway, the footprints, the guy watching TV. All these details remain a mystery, and really, I could make an entire video discussing Midnight Motorist, but since so many people have already done that, and not just that, I really don't have the answers for all of this stuff. I'm not going to do that. I don't want to come to you guys with half-baked theories, and I would rather come to you guys with concrete evidence, things that I'm sure about. And I'm not sure about a lot of the stuff in this minigame, I'm going to be honest. I'm still trying to figure it out myself. But there is one thing that I am sure about. I don't think this pile of dirt is a grave. And I know that there are a lot of people who do think it's a grave, so before you guys cook me in the comment section, I just ask that you guys hear me out. This video is going to be me explaining why I believe this is not a grave and what I think it is instead.
I knew it was a lie the moment I heard it, obviously.
So let's just start with a brief summary of the minigame. Yellow man drives in the rain in his purple car. Two juniors. He gets rejected at the door. He goes home. He tries to get into this person's room, which is locked. He gets mad that it's locked. He tries to get in from the outside. He finds that the person in question had ran off to that place again, and that's the minigame. So it's pretty much all but confirmed that William Afton is the Yellow Man, so we're just going to operate under the assumption that he is. And because Yellow Man is William Afton, a lot of people are inclined to believe that this pile of dirt is a grave. So for those of you guys who are unaware, there's a secret spot in the minigame where you can park your car and get out and find this mysterious pile of dirt. And like I said, since Yellow Man is William Afton, and there's this mysterious pile of dirt in the woods William Afton we know is a serial killer, it makes sense that a lot of people would come to the conclusion that William Afton, the serial killer, buried one of his victims here so that nobody would find them. But I would argue that this yellow guy being William Afton is actually confirmation that this pile of dirt is not a grave. Now, the main reason why I believe this is because William Afton has never been characterized as a type of person to hide his victims' bodies. In the original FNAF games, there are 3 examples of William killing: the MCI, the DCI, and Charlie's death. I know some people believe the DCI didn't happen, but I do, so we're going to look at it for now. But it's not necessary to understanding this theory. Also, Charlie's murder is the most important one for discussing why I believe this is not a grave, so we're going to save it for last. First, we're going to look at the MCI. The MCI is the closest to William ever hiding bodies before, because he puts the bodies of the kids into the animatronics. Some people believe the puppet did it, but for the sake of this theory, we're going to discuss it as if William did it. It is very important to understand that William did not put the dead bodies into the animatronics because he thought they wouldn't get found. He did it because he was insane. It was Fazbear Entertainment who later recovered the bodies and hid them. And the only reason why they did that is because people began to complain about blood and mucus coming out of the animatronic suits. That's the only reason why Fazbear Entertainment responded. William Afton never actually went back to recover the bodies. Even though people started to get suspicious, it was Fazbear Entertainment. And this is further reiterated in the DCI. William Afton doesn't even try to hide the bodies in the DCI. And that makes sense because you can't hide the bodies of kids into animatronics in the FNAF 2 location. The Wizards, it would be obvious because they're broken, so you'd be able to see the body in there. And you simply just can't put kids into animatronics like Balloon Boy and Mangle. So it proves that William does not care to clean up after himself when he kills. So if he isn't going to hide the bodies of objectively his most incriminating cases, he's simply not going to hide a body in the woods. It's too much effort for him, or he simply does not care. He seems like the type of killer who likes his crime to be known. Now, I know, just because William Afton does not clean up after the MCI and the DCI does not necessarily mean that he would never clean up a body ever or never hide a body ever. That's why I saved Charlie for last, because there are a lot of people who believe that Midnight Motorist takes place the night of Charlie's death. A lot of people believe that William Afton is driving home right after killing Charlie, And for those people, I would like to bring up the point that William Afton leaves Charlie's body right there in the middle of the rain when he had a car with a trunk where he could have just taken her, put her in the trunk, driven to the exact spot that we go to in Midnight Motorist, and hide her amongst the already undiscovered body. Like, if you were a serial killer and you knew a perfect place to hide a body in the woods, why would you not take a body there? There's no good explanation as to why William would leave Charlie outside in the rain when he could have just taken her to the exact same spot in Midnight Motorist and buried her there. This is the main reason why I believe that this is not a grave, because it just does not make sense for William Afton to bury one person, have the perfect opportunity to bury another person and get away with it, and then just choose not to do it. Like, it's really hard for me to wrap my head around why he would leave this dead body here outside of everybody to find, but then bury this one. So for that reason, and for the reasons I mentioned before, I truly do not believe this is a grave. Now, Midnight Motorist might not take place the night of Charlie's death, but that doesn't really matter, because regardless, he just leaves her body there. Like I said, if you're William Afton, who's already hid a body in the woods before, why would you not try to do that again? Why would you not try to take it to the same place, or at the very least, a similar place? It doesn't really make sense. The only explanation that you could come up with is he's drunk. But even when he's not drunk, he still does not properly hide the bodies as shown in the MCI and the DCI. So now that I think I've laid out my evidence, I hope you guys understand where I'm coming from. I'm not saying you guys have to agree with me, obviously. I just hope you guys understand why I think the way that I think. But now that I've told you why I don't think it's a grave, it's time for me to tell you what I do think. Please go easy on me, because I think that the box might be in this pile of dirt. I'm not saying that it is. It's just what I think it is for right now. It's my current theory, and let me explain why. It's mainly because of the wording included with the box. When you get the box in, I think it's Night 8 of FNAF 4, there's a text that appears after you try to open it. It says, "Perhaps some things are best left forgotten for now." In my opinion, that would track with somebody burying something in the woods. Like, let's say William Afton owns the box, or Michael Afton owns the box. One of these two guys owns the box. Let's just say it's William for now, because it would make the most sense under the context of Midnight Motorist. William Afton owns the box. He puts something in there he does not want to remember for now. That's perhaps some things are best left forgotten for now. He takes it into the woods and he buries it because he doesn't want to remember it. And then he comes back to it later, which is why he says perhaps some things are best left forgotten for now. That's why William Afton stops there on his way home, because it's a spot that he sometimes regularly visits for whatever reason. I don't know why. It would depend on what's in the box. But I think it kind of tracks, because burying a box isn't necessarily like impossible. Like, people do that, and especially if it's something that you want to forget, like it's like a time capsule of some kind, you know. Now we could further this by remembering what Scott said in his interview with Daco, the first interview, where he talks about the box. And in this interview, Scott is basically like, Matt Pat was right, the contents of the box have changed. Or so he didn't say he was right. He basically was like, I bet you not a lot of people thought about that. The contents of that box have changed throughout the years. That's what Scott said. So a lot of people take it and were like, okay, Scott originally had one thing in the box, but then when he changed the story in between FNAF 4 and Sister Location or whatever, the box contents changed too, just naturally, because the story was naturally going into a different direction. But what if Scott was not being figurative when he said the contents of the box have changed? What if he was being literal? Like, the owner of the box was literally changing the contents of the box throughout the series. And that is why William Afton stops there in Midnight Motorist, because he constantly goes back to change what's in the box. Like, he's the one doing it. It's not Scott who's changing what's in the box. It's actually an in-universe character. Now, there are two main issues with the idea of this being the box. The first one is that the box might not even be a real thing in the FNAF universe. It could just be a symbolic representation of something. And then if it's not real, it obviously can't be in this pile of dirt because it's not real. The second issue with this theory is that the box is most likely associated with the crying child, the bite victim, whoever, whatever you want to call this guy. And it's most likely just based on the context of when you get it, you know he dies in night 6, and then the next thing you see is the box. It gives you the idea that whatever is in this box has to do with this crying child's death. And I personally believe the crying child is the one who ran away in Midnight Motorist, and so he's obviously not dead if he's the one who ran away. So that kind of puts a wrench in this theory, because whatever is in the box most likely has to do with the crying child. Now, if we go back to the idea of William Afton changing what's in the box, it doesn't really affect it that much, because it would mean that the box existed, and then after the kid died, William Afton changed what was in the box because of the kid's death. Also, if you believe Michael was the one who ran away and Crying Child is already dead by the time Midnight Motors happens, then the box theory is fine. But if you believe the Crying Child is the one who ran away, it does kind of bring some issues in that I think get addressed by the idea of William Afton changing the contents of the box. But really, it is a genuine issue that I accept. At the end of the day, I don't know what this pile of dirt is. I don't know a lot about Midnight Motorist. So I'm coming to you guys with some thoughts that were just in my head, kind of mostly me rambling. But I find it very unlikely that this pile of dirt is a grave. I've heard a lot of good ideas that it's the foundation of a new house, or it's the entrance to the sister location bunker. There are plenty of other good explanations behind the pile of dirt. I just don't think it's a grave. But regardless, thank you for watching, and I hope you guys enjoyed the video.